Welcome back to CBC News Sunday. From the catwalk to the sidewalk, women's sexy strides are, well, very often the stuff of male fantasy, we must admit it. But do they also have to do with evolution? A team of scientists at Queen's University recently discovered that there is indeed something in the way she moves, and it's not what you might expect. In a study that appeared in Archives of Sexual Behavior, 20 women at different points in their menstrual cycle were asked to walk across the room. The women's walk was then recreated using computer animation. The researchers observed that the walk of the women who were ovulating was different from that of their less fertile counterparts. Then, these walks were shown to a group of men who were asked to grade them according to attractiveness. The conclusion, somewhat surprising. Men were most attractive to the women who were not ovulating. Meghan Provo is a professor of experimental psychology and social psychology at Mount St. Vincent University. When she did this study, however, she was at Queen's University, and to explain these findings, she joins us now from Halifax. Good morning.
Good morning.
Meghan Provo, what explains the fact that men were most attracted to women who are not ovulating?
That is a very interesting question, and it's one that I am still working on answering. My working hypothesis right now, and I can't stress it enough that it's something that needs a lot more research, is that perhaps women are sending out mixed signals. So when they are fertile, some cues, such as their face cues or their odor cues, are more attractive, and those cues would be picked up by people who are close by, so people women are choosing to interact with. However, walking is a cue that's widely available, so perhaps women are portraying attractiveness in a widely available cue like gait when they're not fertile. So if they are the unfortunate victim of a sexual assault, it would help to limit the cost to them, limit the horrible effects of that sexual assault, because they wouldn't be able to conceive.
So it helps women become more choosy about who gets close to them.
Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it. Not necessarily choosy who gets close to them, but choosy who they attract when somebody is close by to them.
Right, because you would have thought that, and I don't know if all of the body of research says something different, but that all of our genes and our past and our history all go toward one conclusion. How do we perpetuate the species? How do we go forward? How do we hook up with one another and make babies, right? This one, on the surface of it, doesn't seem to do that.
Well, the first thing I have to say is I don't necessarily think and I think a lot of psych researchers would say that it's not about necessarily perpetuating the species, but much more about perpetuating your own genetic code. So, yes, this study does seem to contradict other research about attractiveness across the menstrual cycle. And I think that's really interesting, because the costs of being sexually assaulted are high no matter what, no matter who the perpetrator is, but it's more costly when it's somebody that a woman doesn't choose. So even though a woman, there might be negativity no matter what to a woman who's being sexually assaulted, but most importantly, if it's somebody that they don't choose to be with, those costs, especially if she conceives, would be even larger.
And just to define cost, what are we talking about?
We're talking about anything negative in terms of perpetuating her genetic code. That's the types of costs we're talking about.
Right, that she didn't choose this partner for herself, and
exactly.
Therefore she's somewhat polluted by this thug that she didn't choose.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So now, so one possibility is that the women have evolved this kind of to camouflage their fertility to unwanted desires. However, is it possible that men have evolved and they say don't want to necessarily be attracted to women who are ovulating, but women who are not ovulating, because classically, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but men have associated power with conquest of women, the Don Juan type of thing, and they want to have a relationship with a woman with no consequence, no babies. Maybe it's a male thing.
And that is a possibility. The only concern I have with that hypothesis, and I've heard it before, is that evidence in terms of facial attractiveness and odor attractiveness. Men are finding women to be more attractive when they're fertile. And in addition, if a man wants this short-term, no consequences kind of tourist, it would still be to his genetic benefit for the women to conceive, even though it wouldn't be necessarily to her benefit. Though he gives the genes, it doesn't necessarily mean in an ancestral past that he would have to do anything further to that. Though that situation's different.
Last question for two seconds here. Just because, so this must happen unconsciously. I mean, I didn't notice that Carol had new shoes this morning, so I mean, did men notice their different walk
yes, he
unconsciously?
Did. That's not true. He noticed the shoes.
Is it all unconscious?
I wouldn't say unconscious, but definitely out of awareness. I don't think women know that they're differently walking, and I don't think that men are picking up, oh, she's fertile, she's not.
These are, Meghan, that's all the time we have. We're really sorry. Thank you for explaining this to us. This is an interesting result. And just for the record of it, these are my ovulating shoes.
Oh. Meghan is doing a study on how men are uncomfortable on TV when they find out about what's really going on. Meghan, thanks again so much. We'll be right back with your thoughts on last week's show, and I'm going to take a break.